Welcome y'all to Yoga Off the Court. So today's episode is called Yoga Off the Court because this is the title of my bi-monthly newsletter that gets delivered into your inbox on the 1st and the 15th of every single month. Once a month, I record a podcast episode like this to summarize what's going on in my business and my life off the yoga mat. I like to consider this an extension of the yoga practice, and that's why it's called Yoga Off the Court. I grew up a huge sports fan, and I still love my hometown teams in the city of Toronto, and I'm so glad you're here. So why do I do this? This is because I like to talk about yoga beyond just the classroom and beyond just downward facing dogs and the physical shapes. Because yoga at its core is about how we engage with ourselves and the world around us. And our mat is the perfect place for us to practice that, to work our shit out, for lack of a better term. Yoga is a mindfulness and meditation practice that gives us a philosophical code of ethics in which to live by. This is what I believe yoga is truly about. And the physical shapes that we practice are an instrument to teach us some of these bigger lessons of life and how they can help us handle things with maybe a little bit more grace, a little bit more ease. And perhaps you've even heard teachers in the past say something like how you react on your yoga mat is often a reflection of how you react off your yoga mat. So if that's the type of stuff that you're into, keep listening, tap the subscribe button, hit the like button. I really do appreciate you being here today. Thank you for tuning in. So let's get into a recap of what's going on, as I mentioned, in life, in business, and yoga. So let's get into it. It is February. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I'm pumping out in my newsletter on the 1st of the month. I'm recording this on Jan the 29th. It is the new moon. I'll get into that later. The start of the new year was super introspective and reflective for me, as 2025 will be my 10th year teaching yoga. I graduated in May of 2015. In the month of August, I am turning 40 years old, and there's a lot that's coming with that as I reflect back on not just the last year, but the last decade. It's nothing negative. It's all positive, to be honest, and a lot of lessons. I really have yoga and the meditation practice to really thank for that. And every time I hit these new milestones in life, I really get into a state of reflection and growth. It is an opportunity for me to look back at the lessons that I've learned and envision what the future could look like. I'm going to share a little bit more about that with you, but I'm curious to know how your New Year's going. If you set goals, if you set resolutions, if you have your own unique process, I'd love to hear about it. You can write it in the comments below, whether you're listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify. I love to know what's going on and how you take your yoga practice off the court and how you put it into your daily life. So as I mentioned earlier, the first new moon of the year has just passed as well. And it's also the Chinese New Year. I was reading a little bit about my sign and the Chinese lunar calendar. I'm the sign of the ox and what that means. And it lit me up. I am so pumped because this year is really setting itself up to be a year of growth and a year of expansion, a year of new possibilities. And I'm curious if anyone else is feeling that too. For me, for the first time in 15 years, I decided to actually write goals down, like pen and paper write. I usually type my journals out, but I decided to actually write out some 1-year goals, 5-year goals, and 10-year goals. And I haven't done this since I was in my mid-20s working at Lululemon, and I first was introduced to setting goals. I remember back then it was really powerful, and I had set these 10-year goals. And when I was 35, I looked back and I had reached and achieved most of those goals. It was kind of crazy. But what I realized was that those goals and what I was achieving were actually more a result of societal stuff. They were coming from a place of what I feel like I should be doing, at that stage of my life, getting married, having kids, getting a house, doing all those things. And when I got there, I realized something was really missing. I wasn't really living a life of alignment. I wasn't living the life that I really wanted to live. And to be honest, it required some big changes to come through. I left my marriage. I had 2 children. I have 2 children who I'm super, super grateful for. And I love them. I love being a dad. It is something that lights me up and brings me so much joy. But the marriage part was something that I was still trying to figure out because I was trying to figure out myself, to be honest. It had nothing to do with the other person. It was really about me understanding what my values were, what I wanted to teach my kids, who I was, and how that fit into the context of the marriage and the structure that was there. And a lot of it was honestly pretty shaky and rocky in terms of what my boundaries were and how I set them. And so as I leave a lot of that behind, it's really exciting for me to look back and see the growth and my children and all that my marriage taught me about myself. Like, we did a lot of therapy. I mean, a lot of therapy, like tens of thousands of dollars worth of therapy over the years that we were together. So I learned a lot about how I show up, about who I am. I have zero regrets. And I feel a lot of that reflection and growth that came in my 30s was really meant to be and is serving a powerful purpose today as I move forward into a new decade. I'm ready to apply those learnings and also open myself up to new possibilities and new growth and kind of dive into some new areas, like my first foray into psychedelics. One of the things I wrote about in my January newsletters was this entry point into the world of psychedelics. I wanted to do mushrooms, and I know that this sounds kind of funny, but mushroom culture and microdosing and psychedelics have definitely become more and more talked about, and they're becoming more popular. And to be honest, I initially have had a lot of resistance to it and kind of judgment towards it. I really don't feel like taking drugs for spiritual growth is something that anybody should rely on consistently or on any type of regular basis. However, I was curious to do it in a more intentional, purposeful, introspective type of way if I were to ever do it. And obviously, being surrounded by yogis and people that are on their spiritual paths, I hear about things like ayahuasca and microdosing. I talk to people or hear from people about their experiences with it and why they do it, what they get out of it. So I've definitely been listening for many years, and it felt like I was getting to a time with all that went on in my 30s, with this new chapter ahead. It felt like a time to explore this for myself. And so I did a lot of research, and I did it on a 4-day solo camping trip in the middle of the woods. Never done anything like that before on my own. I stayed in a tiny off-grid cabin from New Year's Eve until Jan the 3rd. And I was totally by myself. And on the new year, the first day of the new year, I took 1 gram of shrooms. I gotta tell you, it was an amazing experience. It was a lot of fun. I voice noted myself a few times. I recorded a few videos of myself, and to look back at it and see the silliness, but also some of the value in it, the biggest attitude change that I'm taking forward is to be carefree, to take the spotlight off and just really be myself, fully self-express. A lot of things came up in my brain over that time span that just started to make sense to me. A lot of things that I've questioned in the past, or things that maybe I've been too scared to try because I'm worried about people thinking I look funny, or I'm being too silly, or judge me for whatever. All of that is just out the window, because who cares? Who cares if I go to an ecstatic dance party and look like a fool? Just be in tune with myself, and to have this carefree attitude is what I'm really taking away from it, and letting go of whatever other people are going to say about me. So that's kind of what really came up for me. And, as I look to putting myself out there more in the form of these video and podcast episodes, I just want to bring that carefree attitude to it. People are going to watch this and judge me. They're going to like it or not like it. People are going to like my classes or not like my classes. I can't control any of that stuff, What I can control and what I can do is share authentically with you guys the stuff that is meaningful and purposeful to me as a yoga teacher, as a human, as I share any of the wisdom and learn lessons that I've learned to help you maybe forge a path that's centered around wellness and peacefulness and yoga. I'm going to be carefree in that approach. And I hope it brings all my goals and visions to light. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for still being here right now and listening up until this point. I truly appreciate you. As I mentioned to you, I have been teaching yoga, y'all, for 10 years come May, and I've been hosting retreats for 9 years. The pandemic put a bit of a halt to it. Just before the pandemic, I was considering hosting my first international retreat, and then that got delayed a little bit because of the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, the retreat center that I was hosting my local retreats at, local as in the sense of Ontario, Canada, it's that retreat center shut down during the pandemic. So the two retreats that I have going on are kind of in a bit of a rhythm now. So my first one that I'm going to tell you about, it's my third annual retreat at the same location. It's local in Ontario, just outside of the city of Toronto. It is 3 days. I call it the Summer Yoga Vacay. And it is on a lakeside property. It feels like you're going to a super luxurious, relaxing, modern cottage. It is just gorgeous. You have everything that you need is provided for you. Literally, the only main things you need to bring are yoga clothes and toothbrush and face wash, maybe, whatever you do here. It's all you need. But they have towels provided, towels to go swimming, towels for showering. They have shampoo, conditioner, body wash, your linens, your pillows, everything. All your yoga props and things are there. So you truly don't need to bring anything. It is a super luxurious getaway. There are 3 types of accommodations for this. There is a private accommodation, there's a 2-person shared accommodation, and a 4-person bunk room shared accommodation option. I'm going to post a link for the retreat below. You can read all about it on my website. There's tons of info there. Booking information is there too. All your meals are included. It's, again, a lovely way to take a little mini yoga vacation, especially if you're not ready to jump in and do a full week-long retreat or go away for an extended period of time, or you just don't have the funds or want to spend the money on booking an airline ticket. This is really the best way to get that bit of extra yoga practice in, but also get a vacation in. And that's really how I describe my yoga retreats, is they are a vacation from a vacation. You know, when you take one of those vacations that you come back from and you're exhausted and you're like, I need another vacation from the vacation that I just took. That's a yoga retreat. That's how I like to describe them, because they truly are that break that most of us, I find, especially if you live in an urban populated city and you're a busy working professional, you just need a break sometimes. Like a few days where you don't have to cook, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to literally clean anything, no laundry, nothing, for a couple of days, and you get to fill your time with whatever it is that you want. The yoga classes are there and they're optional for you, but there's a ton of free time. This is a signature piece of my yoga retreats, free time. You have time to go swimming in the lake, paddleboard, kayak, that's all provided for you. You have a huge library of wellness books. You don't even have to bring a book. You can just pick one up off the shelf, and if you really like it, maybe you go purchase it. You can bring your own book too. There's a super cozy living room area with a built-in fireplace, really comfortable, really serene setting, big windows, lots of natural light. So it's honestly amazing. Check out the link below, and you could find details there. My second annual retreat, this is going to be my 5th time going to Costa Rica. The retreat center is called Bodhi Tree Yoga Resort. They've been around for just over a decade as well, and they're phenomenal. There's a reason why I'm going back for a 5th year. There's a reason why I just signed a contract to go back for a 6th year. It's a beautiful place you can keep coming back to over and over again, and you cannot get bored of this town and this resort, y'all. It is so phenomenal. The resort itself has beautiful yoga spaces to practice in, just gorgeous. One that is just like surrounded by jungle with open air, no walls. But then there's this other one that is walled off, but it's above the trees, literally above the trees. You can see the ocean. You're so high up. It is so gorgeous. This practice spaces are my favorite. They also provide yoga mats and yoga blocks and all that stuff. So you don't have to lug your yoga mat on the plane, unless you're super, particular and love your yoga mat and it goes with you everywhere. That's all good too. But again, the theme of my retreats is spaciousness and free time. You have a lot of space to curate your own experience. You could do a lot, you could do a little, you could be super social and engage with the locals and the people and the community. You can be super introspective and just have your own solo experience. There really is something for everybody. So again, both of the retreats, they're linked below in the show notes and the description. Check them out. All the info is there. And if you've never done a yoga retreat, or if you have questions about taking a yoga retreat, please feel free to reach out to me directly. You can leave a comment and ask a question, and I can respond to you there. I do also have an article on my blog about why you might want to consider attending a retreat. That's at jafferyoga.com/blog. I will link that as well. Other than that, I think I'm good to wrap this up. Thank you so much for listening to another edition of Yoga Off the Court. I hope you found some value. If you're still listening, thank you so much for being here once again. I do really appreciate you. Feel free to share this information with a friend, with someone you know that might be interested in these types of yoga conversations. You can also look through my Spotify channel. There are some 15-minute yoga classes that you can practice. And if you want some full-length classes, those are also available on my website. I have a full on-demand program of online yoga classes that you can take. Thank you so much for being here. Happy February. I hope your New Year's off to an amazing start, and I will chat to you soon. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.